Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Brent. How you doing, Brent?
Hey, Taran, how you doing? You know, I heard you on the podcast on the live feed update earlier today complaining about the twist. And I was thinking to myself, Taran, why do you complain about the twists every year when, like, literally nothing seems to change? I've been complaining about you on RHAP for the past 3 years, and you're still here. So come on. It doesn't work like that.
You just answered your own question. Also with me tonight is Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm great. I just started my new job today, so I was worried I wasn't going to be able to make it, and of course I was able to make it. Everything's great. Everything's good, so very exciting stuff.
Yes, very excited. Melissa has a brand new job. Very excited for Melissa.
Yes, very exciting.
But she is retaining this job of watching the Big Brother 20 live feeds, and we are here every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern to update you on everything that's been happening and argue about it on these Big Brother 20 live feeds. We are live on YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch, and who knows, I never know about Facebook, but you can send questions to me on Twitter at ArmstrongTaran if you so desire. But let's get into it. Let's get into this week in Big Brother 20. It's been probably the slowest week so far. And I think definitely not helped by the fact that there's a looming battle back that we know is going to extend the week to essentially a second week of the same thing, or at least probably. But we saw Scottie evicted unanimously at the start of the week. In his exit interviews, I felt like it was heavily hinted to him in many different interviews. Hey, do you think Fessy was jealous of you and Haleigh and that's why he sent you home? And Scottie, who had been in the house thinking Fessy is a secret genius mastermind, he's been flipping all the votes, is like, jealous? You think he was jealous? I don't think you... That would be really dumb if he... That would be really annoying. He was jealous? This was very out of bounds for me. Not only as a juror, but as a potential battle back contestant here. I felt like the care that people had with Scottie in the exit interviews was not nearly enough, Brent.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I was also taken with apparently they must not screen these questions very well, or I'm not even sure how they do these questions. Do you happen to know how they ask? Are they pre-prepared, like you submit them and then they ask the juror, or they actually talk to them on the phone?
In my experience on Big Brother Canada, I submitted questions to them prior. They got approved, and then I had to stick to my script when I talked to them for the podcast. I believe with what Rob has done with Big Brother US in the past with text interviews is that he has sent an email with the questions, and he has gotten the text back. So I don't think he even speaks to them. Okay. It's just by email. Yeah,
be that as it may, I agree with you that I thought it was odd that they let these through. It might be a moot point considering that Fessy is most likely going to be evicted, and there's never going to be a point in time where both Fessy and Scottie are in the Big Brother house together. So I feel like that is mitigating somewhat, but it still should not have happened. And if the vote ends up flipping this week, which is always a possibility in the Big Brother house, then I do feel like they might have a bit of a problem on their hands.
Yeah, I also think, like, in their defense and the interviewer's defense, like, I thought Scottie knew that it was a lot based on jealousy. Like, I thought that was, like, pretty apparent that Fessy was in love with Haleigh, and a lot of his moves had to do with, you know, protecting Haleigh and being in love with her. And so, I mean, if I'm an interviewer and I'm thinking that to myself, like, I mean, I would think that was an innocuous question because Scottie clearly knew that it was about jealousy. But at the same time, Scottie did go to Fessy confessing his love for Haleigh, so maybe he didn't know. But yeah.
Yeah, I get the feeling like it was obvious to us that it was a jealousy thing. But I don't know necessarily it was obvious to Scottie. I mean, Scottie was in the dark. I mean, he was throwing all sorts of shit against the wall. Like, I don't know how this happened. What was the reality? I mean, I feel like in some ways he was even led by Julie Chen in a way in her exit interview when she was like, you know, why didn't you speak up for yourself? As if that's the reason why he ultimately was put on the block. Of course, The real reason why he was put on the block was because of JC. That was the real reason why he was put on the block, which never ever got mentioned at all. So I feel like that in some ways they were leading him down two paths, neither of which were correct.
Yeah, it's hard to blame the interviewers after the fact, because Julie really opened the door. Julie asked him if he thought it was jealousy. Julie also talked to him about, like, why didn't you stick up for yourself more when Brett claimed to be the vote. Like, both things are very leading questions for somebody that did not know that he should be going down those paths. And I feel like maybe they let these questions through because Julie had already opened that door.
I actually didn't hear Julie say something to him, so that went over my head because I actually missed that part. But if that happened as well, then they really need to watch them. So Scott making so many dumb mistakes this season, along with the intercom thing and the cloud thing being up there, and some of the things that they've asked the contestants. Like, it's a wonder Level 6 is in as much control as they are, considering that all the things that have gone wrong in the Big Brother house.
Yeah, did they have like some budget cuts or something? Like, did they hire some new people? Like, something is going on with production this season. It's they have not been doing too well here. But Scottie, another thing that Scottie talks about in his exit interviews is we already knew this, but he's going to admit he had some pretty major feelings for Haleigh, which is obviously relevant because there is a battle back, and if Scottie comes back, especially without Fessy there, they are probably going to be inseparable.
Yep. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I know that you said on the update today that you're a little bummed about it, and I feel like in some ways I do share your bumness about it, because there are battles on the horizon that are stewing that may be neutered in fact, because Scottie is coming back in the house, and that we're assuming Scottie's coming back in the house. Of course, it could be anybody. I'm just saying if it's Scottie coming back in the house. But I feel like in some ways he was done so wrong that he does like deserve a second chance, and I know it's gonna like suck a little bit of the game out of the Big Brother house for a second for him to come back in, but I'm okay with it. So it's Big Brother, Taran. What are you gonna do?
All right. Well, Angela ends up winning the following HOH. Her initial thought is to put Haleigh up next to Sam, and begins to think, you know what, maybe I should just get rid of Sam. Fessy and Haleigh seem pretty loyal, and I know Sam is coming after me, so maybe I should just do this. However, the rest of Level 6 kind of points her in the opposite direction, and she ends up nominating Haleigh and Fessy together with no warning, of course, and a brutal speech about $2 short and a day late. And so there you go, Fessy and Haleigh on the block. At first, Fessy is elated. This is the best thing that's ever happened to him in the Big Brother house. He knows where everyone stands. It's him and Haleigh against the world. They're consoling each other. They're only hanging out with each other. However, after Haleigh picks Sam in the veto draw, under Fessy's direction, Haleigh is informed by Angela, Tyler, and then Kaycee that she is not the target, Fessy is the target, at which point Haleigh cheers up a bit and starts hanging out with the rest of the house, which makes Fessy a sad Eeyore boy.
Yeah, definitely sad Fessy right now. And I think that's totally what's going on. I feel like sometimes like it's hard to tell, like, okay, why is someone upset? Are they just upset because they're on the block and now they know they're the target or whatever? But like, I totally think it's because Fessy thought, this is it. This is my moment with Haleigh. She's relying on me for everything. It's just the two of us now. And all of a sudden, Haleigh's now back to hanging out with the other side of the house. And I mean, in Fessy's mind, oh, okay, she's hanging out with the other side of the house. In Haleigh's mind, she's like, okay, now I'm actually trying to get back into the game mode, trying to get in the good graces of some of these people, because once Fessy's gone, it's going to be me versus everybody. So Haleigh's doing the right thing. Fessy just doesn't care about the game, clearly. He thinks that everything is about their relationship and is about, his social, the social aspect of everything, and he could care less if he wins or loses or stays in the house or not, as long as Haleigh and him are good. And that's just it's really sucky to have to watch something like that, because he's like, and Haleigh will tell him something and he'll be like, I don't care about the game, I don't even care. And it's like, you should care. That's why you're there. So yeah, Fessy can go.
Yeah, well, I mean, in some ways, I feel like I realize it's fun to harp on Fessy, and he does deserve a lot of it. But I feel like in some ways he's a typical Big Brother contestant, where he's trying to be positive and trying to play the game up until the point where he knows it doesn't matter anymore. And at this point, he knows it doesn't matter anymore. Of course, I know there's a path in front of him where he could possibly get Haleigh out. I realize that, but I feel like that a lot of people do this, where like they're the target, they lose the veto, they're sitting on the block, they say, I don't want to play anymore, I don't care about the stupid game, and then they're out of the house. But I mean, here's the thing. I know what you're going to say. I can see it on your lips. There is a path in front of him to stay in the house, but get rid of Haleigh. But he's such a recruit though, and he's such a dumbass that I feel like that it's like I don't even expect that of him. Do you expect that of him?
Well, I'm not saying I expect it, but that's why I'm saying he can go, because like if someone's not going to fight for their life no matter what, if they're going to sit there and lay down and die and just say like, okay, well, I'm not going to campaign against my friend. It's like, this is a game. Campaign against your friend. Like, I'm sorry. I know that sucks. I know that's not the position you want to be in, but campaign against them. You need to do whatever it takes to stay, and he doesn't care to stay. Like, he'd prefer to keep his relationship with Haleigh good and strong or whatever. Well, strong in quotes, but he'd prefer to, maintain that relationship than to even try any method of staying in the house. And it's frustrating, that's why I think he can go. I wasn't expecting him to campaign. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't expecting him to like do a good job or like even try or care. But the fact that he doesn't try or care is making me think, get him out of here. Who cares? At least Haleigh's trying.
Yeah. I feel like maybe the DR Taran could spur him on a little bit by like, hey, there's $500,000 here. You could stay if you got rid of Haleigh. But I do feel like in some ways JC's talk with him about the potential battle back has sort of clouded his mind, where he's like, well, I'm just going to try to win the battle back then.
I think that Fessy is so far removed from the road of playing the game. He took a detour
long ago,
like week 1, and he's been on his own path for a very long time. His motivations all season long have been entirely focused on Haleigh, and any game that he's played has been to do with Haleigh. This helps me stay with Haleigh longer. This helps Haleigh in the game. This helps me and Haleigh in the game, and you can see it again. Like his motive, like he gets nominated, he's super happy because that means him and Haleigh are in it together and they're hanging out with each other. The second Haleigh stops hanging out with him, he's mad. Not that he's going home, not that he's being targeted, but that Haleigh is now not hanging out with him. She's hanging out with the people that put them on the block, and she's not hanging out with him anymore, and this is the last time they're going to get to see each other. He is not even close to thinking about the game at this point, and I would never expect anything even close to resembling any game thought from him unless Haleigh left the game, at which point maybe he would start to think about the game. But again, he's so far off on some detour, he'd be like looking at it through binoculars. So, that's how I see Fessy. Kaycee is going to end up winning the veto. This is when Fessy, of course, enters full Eeyore mode because Kaycee beat him, and he's mad that this girl that he thought couldn't win against him, that he'd always be able to beat, ended up beating him in a competition, and now Haleigh's spending time with her and Angela, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair, all of this stuff that's happening to poor Fessy. So many arguments stem from this. Fessy trying to get Haleigh to stop hanging out with the other people, and her saying, look, I have to live in this house, and him saying, what, do you only care about the game?
Yes, I wish he would just say yes. I wish he would just say yes. I care about the game first and foremost. That's where you lost me, is you don't care about the damn game.
And that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I know, right? What are we here for, Fessy? What are we casting the show for? I wish she would just slap him and say, yes. That's why I'm here, because then I wouldn't have to listen to them bickering for the next 48 hours. I'm still, look, I know that, look, stranger things have happened in the Big Brother house. There's still 48 hours left until the eviction. I think there is a viable reason I gotta stop saying that. Oh my God, please remove that from my vocabulary, that word. Okay. No more viable. I think there is a possible path for him to move forward in the Big Brother game, and it is realistic because he is by far the better person to keep in the house. He is far more malleable, mentally speaking, and he's less likely to screw up what level 6 has going on. Add to the fact that if Scottie comes back in the house, they're going to be inseparable. I know Tyler is expecting a battle back. It's very, I think Angela yesterday, and I even tweeted about this, finally said that if Fessy's gone and Scottie comes back, he's not going to have a target anymore, which means the target's probably going to be me. But yet they didn't do anything with that. Kaycee was like, well, we have to work harder then and win an HOH. That's everybody's solution, Taran, to problems in the Big Brother house. Well, we have to win an HOH. God, I'm doing the Fessy voice now, so whatever. I can't believe that more hasn't been made of this. That wasn't said around Tyler. I don't know if he's even entertained the possibility of evicting Haleigh. Maybe he thinks he can work his manly charms on Haleigh and flirt with her, and he can control her somewhat that way and at least keep one of them off the block. Then that way they would be okay. I don't know. What do you guys have to say? You think is there any possibility that Fessy stays this week?
I think there is, but not by Fessy. Like, not by anything he would do himself. I think that if level 6 gets together and is like, hey, why are we doing this? Like, if Haleigh gives any reason for them to think that she's, a smart player or who might get them out or who might target them or whatever, that she's not going to go for Sam next week. I could see them talking with each other and coming to their own conclusion that, it's safer for us to keep Fessy around. But I do not see any way that Fessy gets himself to stay by his own doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that things will flip, especially when you know that the better move is for it to flip. But right now, it seems like it's been smooth sailing for a very long time. And the momentum is there from the start of the week to now, heading into this whole thing. The whole plan was to get Fessy out. Fessy didn't win the veto. At this point, it would take a lot of work to turn this ship around. All of them would need to agree with the logic and think, okay, this is the correct move. So many of them are making plans for the future with Fessy gone. So it seems very unlikely to me that things would change. But I do agree that they should change. I think that Fessy leaving, I've said this right from the start, that I think Fessy leaving is a mistake. I think that Haleigh should be the one that should be targeted here. Fessy is just so much easier to manipulate. And, especially if Scottie comes back into the house, they would probably try to work together, but they'd be so much easier to play and manipulate than Haleigh and Fessy or Scottie and Haleigh. So, yeah, it's a bad move. It's probably not going to cost them anything. We're talking about marginal stuff here. They have a massive advantage, but you don't want to give anything here on Big Brother because things can go wrong, and it does seem like Tyler's maybe his eyes are wandering a little bit from the prize to a different prize. But yeah. So Haleigh and Fessy did make the compulsory pitch for Kaycee to use the veto, but of course it did not work. She did not use the veto. Haleigh tells Kaycee that she is her person now. Kaycee is the person that Haleigh is going to try to work on the most here. She's also going to spend some time bonding with Angela. It seems like these are the people she's going to try and gravitate toward. I don't know if that means that she would try to target the men if she won the HOH or if she's completely playing them in case they win HOH again. But it does seem like they are the people that she is going to get in with socially next. But again, this is all going to change as soon as one of her Faute members come back and she, just pairs up with them again, and it's the house versus those two again, right, Brent?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not necessarily bummed about that. I feel like in some ways that might give her some clarity, because I am nervous that if she wins HOH that she would put up Sam as one of her potential nominees, and we know that if Sam goes up as the nominee with the level 6 person, that Sam is going to go home and level 6 is going to stay intact. And I'm even as things stand right now, moving forward, I don't know that wouldn't happen. I feel like there's a good possibility that she might actually do that she might put Sam on the block. She might actually buy this spin coming from Kaycee and Angela. Of course, Angela can't be HOH, so I don't know why she's necessarily buttering up to her. But I do feel like in some ways that she might actually not put Angela and Kaycee on the block because she's been blaming Rockstar. Oh, I shouldn't have let Rockstar run my HOH. I made a deal with Sam, or I don't even think she copped to the deal with Sam. She said Rockstar made a deal with Sam or proposed something to Sam, and that's why she didn't nominate Sam the week that Haleigh was HOH. That's why she nominated Kaycee and Angela. I would like to think that Haleigh would nominate 2 members of level 6 if she won HOH. But as you pointed out on the show earlier today, Taran, that, every time somebody, meaning Brent, thinks that Haleigh has it all figured out, she does not. She's back on the Kaycee is at the bottom of the totem pole, and I can work with her train. So I don't know. I feel like that she's just, again, I have said this before, like 21-year-old Haleigh doesn't belong in Big Brother house. 25-year-old Haleigh, I'd like to see her play. So she doesn't have the mental fortitude to be able to play this game. And I feel like if she gets an HOH, she's going to make another mistake. The good thing is that if somebody comes back from Fauci, like Scottie or Bayleigh, I'm hoping they might give her some clarity. Like, okay, we don't need to worry about Sam right now. Sam is... Get her, off to the side. We need to stay focused on who has been working together. But I feel like that they might fall for it because the people that have had the mental power in the house since the beginning are the members of level 6. So when you not come at me, but when you're complaining on the live feed update, oh, Brent's saying that Tyler's been lucky the whole time. It's just the people that he surrounded himself with, they all make the good decisions. Then the people on the Faute side, they make all the bad decisions. I want Tyler to have somebody who makes these bad decisions. To happen.
He's advised his alliance and he's messed with the other side. But I feel like at this point, I feel like the level 6 versus Faute is done. Like level 6 has won already. Like Haleigh is in check. If she takes Sam out, that's great. No more Sam. I don't have to deal with Sam anymore. Like if she takes a shot at level 6, great. She leaves the next week. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it doesn't really do much for us. I'm just waiting for these people to leave so we can get back to the actual game because they've kind of already lost. Of course, there's always a chance in Big Brother. Things could really shake up and they could go on a comp winning spree and so on and so forth. But it's not particularly likely. And I'd welcome it if it happened. It would certainly be an exciting run. It seems very unlikely at this point. So I'm just kind of ready for all of this next stuff to start happening, which we'll talk about.
Yes, let's talk about the state of the house. Let's just ignore the possibility of a battle back for the moment. So I mean, where do you think the house is right now? Again, ignore the battle back. If these are the only people that are playing Big Brother, where do you see things going from here?
Well, so some important stuff to mention is that JC has been active. Yes. He has pitched to Tyler.
Like every week.
Yes. He has pitched to Tyler, hey, we need to take a shot at Kaycee and Angela. They have a final 2. They are too close in this game. Haleigh and Sam hate each other. They're always going after each other. That's a pair you want to keep in the game. Angela and Kaycee, on the other hand, they're very tight. They're always going to pick each other over anyone else. So we need to make sure that they leave the house sooner rather than later. And of course, when he says Kaycee and Angela, he means Angela. He wants Angela gone. He's trying to pitch it to Tyler, who is not hearing it at all. He says, no, absolutely not. You are never convincing me to keep Haleigh in this game. Do not worry. I have a plan. I believe Tyler when he says, I'm not planning on taking them to the end. I believe that Tyler is planning on cutting Angela at Final 4, Final 5, one of those weeks. But JC, of course, has never believed Tyler's ability to withstand the persuasion of women. So he thinks that Tyler is completely in love with Angela, which I think he is to some degree, but I do think he plans on cutting her. But it doesn't matter to JC because what matters to JC is that he takes out Angela because that would be very good for him if he was able to take Angela out and keep Brett in the game and keep people like Haleigh and Sam in the game. This is the path forward for JC if he's able to make it happen. He's not able to make it happen with Tyler, so he goes to option number 2. he pitches the same idea to Brett, who seems a lot more receptive. We talked about this morning on the update. It does seem like Brett is actually listening to what JC is saying and thinking that maybe he might go along with it. He's advising JC on how to go about taking Angela out. He's not told. He had all of last night after he talked to JC about this, and then all of today so far. He has not told anyone about it. So I'm inclined to believe that at the very least, he is heavily considering this idea of turning on level 6 as early as next week or the week after. Of course, the battle back changes things. But I think that Brett is ready to make the move. JC is ready to make the move. And I honestly think that Brett is one of the most likely people to win HOH next week, given the fact that he's been studying so much. There have been so many physical competitions back to back. I think it's got to be some kind of quiz, or it would have been some kind of quiz if it wasn't a battle back, and probably an endurance. So I think that's probably where the house would have gone. I think Brett would have won. He would have blindsided level 6, taken a shot at Angela, and we would have seen some fun stuff, but that's not what we're looking at quite yet, at least. Instead, we will be having a battle back, and I believe that we'll have to, we'll see instead them taking a shot at whoever comes back into the house, or if that person wins, taking a shot at Sam or one of the level 6 people for them, and then we'll resume removing the other 2 from the house. But there's a lot of intrigue here between JC and Tyler and Brett, and then where Angela stands and all of that. So lots of stuff to be thinking about, Melissa.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I like the fact that Brett is, I mean, we don't know for sure, but I like the fact that Brett is likely entertaining these ideas, because I was a bit concerned that Brett was going to be like, no, it's level 6 to the end. And then, oh, wait, he's the one they're going to try and get out first, and he has no idea, and there goes Brett. And I was kind of bummed about that. So it's nice to hear that he's kind of keeping his options open, especially with JC, because I think that the 2 of them, they are their best options right now, to have the 2 of them work together to figure something out. Because otherwise, I do see Angela, Kaycee, and Tyler as a strong 3, with everyone else being pretty expendable. So if Brett and JC can kind of pair up a little bit, I think they can do some real damage, which would be fun to see the two warring factions go at each other.
I don't necessarily agree. You and Grinder in the chat. You and Grinder says no way Brett would take a shot at Angela and Kaycee himself. I don't agree with you. I would have agreed with you after last night or before last night. But that conversation with JC was something to behold, because as Taran correctly pointed out on the update today, it wasn't something where Brett was just like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah. It was him actively contributing to the conversation, not only just contributing to it, but correcting errors that he saw from JC's point of view, to the point where he was like, no, what you really need to do is put Kaycee and Angela on the block. That's what you need to do. And not only that, he hasn't told members of level 6 about this conversation, rightly so, because he was an active participant in it. I think that, for anybody who ever goes to the Big Brother house, this is one of the main clues. When you're talking to somebody, like, think of Angela and Tyler last week when they were talking to Fessy and Haleigh. It was Fessy and Haleigh going, yeah, and Tyler and Angela basically going, yeah, sure, yeah, sure. I mean, it was them just agreeing the entire time. And I feel like that's when you can tell people are not being serious in the Big Brother house, is when they just really have nothing to add. They're being, in agreement with you because they don't want you to come after them if you happen to win HOH, but they really, really are not. You can tell their heart isn't in it. If you're talking to somebody and their heart isn't in it, you know that is a red flag. On the other hand, looking at JC and Brett talking with each other, they were fully invested in this conversation to the point. And that should also help people. If you want to lie to someone in the Big Brother house, you probably need to act a little bit more invested in the conversation. Otherwise, people might get onto you, because in this conversation, I think it was very hard to tell what Brett's true motives were, until we saw him later on throughout the night and all of today, when he didn't out this conversation to the members of level 6. So I think there is a strong possibility that if the battle back doesn't happen, like, if the battle back wasn't there and Brett won HOH, or if JC won HOH, definitely. If Brett won HOH, I think he actually could nominate Kaycee and Angela and just totally turn his back on level 6, or maybe turn his back on them two, but not Tyler, and say, look, I had to do this because I just don't trust them as being together. I don't know, because I mean, what was he going to do? Nominate Haleigh and Sam, both of whom he has a great relationship with right now. I know his relationship with Sam is a little tenuous after what happened last night, but nevertheless, I feel like that I do think that he would nominate Kaycee and Angela if he won HOH, but the battle back is going to temporarily halt that. And there is even the more awful possibility that somebody like Bayleigh or Scottie could win HOH if they come back. And if they take Brett out, then that's going to really deny us the possibility of some awesomeness. So I really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly why I was railing against the twist earlier this morning, because it's the worst of both worlds. Like, either they come back and they go right back out, or they come back and they win and they probably take care of any looming civil war threats for level 6 and then get taken out. And then we just watch them stomp to the end. So it's like, oh, battle back. I hate battle back.
Any resistance to level 6 begins and ends with Brett. It does not. I'm sorry, JC is not big enough, and he doesn't have the social currency within the house, and he doesn't have the ability to win most of these HOHs. Obviously, he can win an endurance comp, but outside of that, I really don't think he's going to win anything. And I really do think that Brett needs to be on board in order to break up level 6 like head on.
Yes, so that's been brewing, but we'll probably have to put a hold on it for now while the battle back looms. Meanwhile, there was some more, we alluded to this a little bit, some more production screw up here. The intercom in the HOH room, which has been used to communicate to people downstairs, malfunctioned last night, and Sam ended up overhearing Brett complaining about her. Luckily, she apparently, according to what we've seen today, she did not hear too much. She just heard the parts where Brett was complaining a little bit. She did not hear the full extent of the conversation, and she seemed to only be upset with Brett. She had a conversation with Brett about it today. They kind of cleared it up. Brett apologized. He said he was just mad in the moment. She said, I wish that you wouldn't do that behind my back. He was like, absolutely. They hugged it out. So it seems all fine, but obviously this could have been significantly worse if, say, Sam was there, or even Haleigh or Fessy were there, and they were talking about level 6 and or their plans for the future. Like, this could have been very, very, very bad.
Why do they even have that thing? Does anybody use that?
No one
I've
uses
never
it.
seen somebody use it.
They've
really
used it, but
Okay.
not very often, and there's no point to it. There's really no point to it.
It's easier to just yell downstairs, like, "Come on up!" Do they really need the intercom?
Yeah, it's for those like very brief moments of like, oh, we're doing a funny thing,
right?
That never make the
this is
show,
so
and
funny.
they're never that funny. You're like,
Yeah.
So I really think they should just get rid of it. And so many screw ups. This is a huge one.
Not good.
Yeah. I
mean, we're lucky it wasn't any worse, like you said. I mean, this could have been real bad. So it's only just semi bad, and it's only mostly bad in terms of like personal relationships, but not. Luckily, Sam's taking it in stride, but it could have been. I mean, it's Sam. We have no idea how she's ever going to react, so it could have been real bad.
Yeah, and for all we know, Sam did hear more of it, and she's just not saying anything about it. Like, we never know what's in Sam's head. But it seems like it's okay. So. The vote, as it stands right now, is likely either 4-1 or 5-0. Level 6 has been very ambiguous with Sam about the vote. They've essentially told her, we're just gonna, just vote however you want this week, because they want her to vote Haleigh out to stoke the flame of their mutual hatred of each other. So they would love for Sam to vote Haleigh out. Sam keeps asking them who she should vote for, and they're trying to tell her, vote however you want. So as it stands, might be 4-1 with Sam voting Haleigh out, or it might be unanimous for Fessy to leave. We're not entirely sure at this point, but either way.
If I was Sam, I would be pissed about this, Melissa, because every other week they've been begging her, okay, we need your vote. We need your vote. This is how you need to vote. This week they're like, do whatever you want. We don't care.
Yeah.
If I was Sam and I was smarter, I would realize I'm being used here.
Mm-hmm. I'd just be like, what? Okay, no, I want everybody to tell me exactly who you're voting for, and then I will decide. But because every time before that, they usually can tell her before the vote who they're voting for. But what they should do is really just tell her, look, we're all not going to talk about our votes. We're all just going to decide once we get into the room who we're going to vote for, because we don't care who stays and who goes. So everybody, just let's not speak about our votes, and we'll just go into the voting booth and just pick randomly, or pick whoever you want once you go in there.
Didn't they tell themselves that they were going to tell Sam if she flat out asked them, and now they're not telling her, or what? Like, they said we were not going to lie.
If Sam asks them who they're voting for, I think they'll say we're voting Fessy out. Okay. But so far, I believe all Sam has asked is who should I vote for. So they're saying, we're just kind of doing whatever we want.
All right.
So it still might be a unanimous thing. If Sam really presses them, I don't think they're gonna push too hard. I think they'll let her vote with the House if that's what she wants to do. Obviously, that's not a huge loss, because they can just be like, well, she voted with the House because she voted with the House, and she wanted to vote you out. So the only thing left to talk about here is the potential of the battle back, and what we think it might be, and who we think might come back. We've already kind of talked about how it impacts things, but it seems like the consensus is mostly that we think it's probably going to be the kind of thing that Victor won on season 18, where they're on a wall, or they have some kind of endurance competition, and the 4 jurors are all competing alongside the rest of the house guests, and the last one standing is going to return to the house. Brent, do you think, is that sort of what you're speculating as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm speculating. I think they found a formula and they like it. That they like, it's an endurance competition. If you the last evictee standing, you get to come back into the house. If you're the last person standing overall, you win HOH. So there is a possibility of an evicted person coming back in and winning HOH. I think that I like that formula. They like that formula. I wish they would do that formula. And I also like it for other reasons, because depending on the type of competition, if it's more like BB15, where they're up there for a while and really not struggling too much, there's a lot of talk for smack talk from the jurors and the people who are in the house about what's really happening and who should be targeted and why was I evicted and why was I blindsided and that sort of thing. People start yapping, and I like that very much because it leads to conflict. On the other hand, if it's something like BB17, I always mix up 17 and 18, 17, where they're on like those holding on for dear life on those spinning discs, then there's not going to be too much talk. They're trying to hold on. So I don't know. I feel like that they need to make sure that it's something where it'll last for a little while, like the wall competition. And I feel like we could get some good drama out of it, Taran. If they're going to bring someone back, at least give me drama, damn it.
I see. I personally want them talking as little as possible.
Of course you would.
If we're gonna have a jury segment, let's have it in the jury house. That's where I like my jury segments. That would be my preference. So I did ask in the poll, in the form, what the audience, what they would prefer to see as the battle back. I said it could be either part of the HOH, an endurance HOH, like we were just talking about. It could be the tournament style that they've had at the start of the seasons, where it's 1 versus 1, until the final people compete. It could be like the crapshoot in Big Brother 16, or a fan vote, like in the old days. And overwhelmingly, over 80% of people said part of the endurance competition, HOH.
That would have been my vote.
Yes. Second place was the tournament style. Crapshoot and fan vote had less than 5% each. Not a fan of those, the audience.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
the crapshoot one is the absolute worst. Just that I just remember in Big Brother 16 when they like revealed that was the competition, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Like,
yeah, that was my This is the competition.
Yeah,
and
like, is what's going to be deciding whether Zach or Hayden gets to come back in the house.
Yeah, it was terrible. Such a miss, Taran.
Yeah, and you couldn't even tell what was going on too. It was like couldn't tell who was winning or what was happening, and it was like then all of a sudden Jacosta's winning, and we're all like, "What the heck is going on here?" So, yeah, no, that was the absolute worst.
For the record, the crapshoot did barely edge out the fan vote, which I do agree with. I think the fan vote is the worst because it has absolutely the worst case. It's a bad precedent. But so I'm obviously against the battle back. Melissa, how about you? This is another question that I asked the audience, but I want to get our opinions first. How do you feel about the battle back?
Honestly, it depends on the season. This season I don't really want a battle back. Last season I did want a battle back. Big Brother 16 I wanted a battle back. Big Brother 17 I don't remember if I would want one or not. But the point is that it really depends on the season. If I feel like the season is like lagging, or if we need someone to come in and, spice things up and change things around, then I'm into it. This season, I feel like we already have enough going on, and we're like on the precipice of a really exciting battle, and then it's like, oh wait, now we're gonna add this other element to it where it's just likely just an easy revolving door kind of situation, or else they get out someone who like Brett who could actually pose a threat, or JC who could pose a threat against the three. So I really am just I'm not feeling it this year. I don't feel like we need it this year. I'm not against them just in general, but I think for this situation I don't think we need it.
Well, has there been a situation where the battle back has, given what it promises, where like somebody comes in and shakes things up? Because I feel like at least 9 times out of 10, even if the person that you would want to come back comes back in, it still is a big flop. That's my read on it, my attempted unbiased read on it, even if I'm trying to be as fair as possible. Do you guys disagree with that?
I thought in Big Brother 16, if Hayden came back in the house, I thought he really could have turned things around. He seemed to be the only one who had caught on to Derek, and I saw that being a really cool thing that could happen.
Right, but it didn't happen. I'm saying from what we saw, even when from what we saw, even when the Hayden does come back, it usually doesn't work out. I agree. I think Hayden might have changed things, but we never got to see it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time it's like something could happen, but it doesn't. Right. So. Yeah, and that's the thing is I feel like for last season it kind of ruined Jessica's chance of doing better in the game, because I felt like with coaching.
Yeah. Well, on balance, I'm with.
She was starting to.
Was up until 48 hours ago. I was like, I kind of need the battle back because I feel like we're headed toward a pretty predictable ending. But now that Brett and JC are talking, I feel like I kind of don't need it anymore. But it's just sort of happenstance. In some ways, I feel like that if you had asked me 48 hours ago, I'd have been like, yes, I need a battle back because I need some drama. And now I'm like, I don't really need one because the people that are there currently seem to know what's going on. But I'm like Melissa, I thought for sure Brett's level 6 to the end. And especially after that talk he had with Tyler, I'm like, oh my God, he's totally snowed now. He's never going to turn on level 6. That doesn't seem to be the case. So, if I hadn't, and I didn't know that before yesterday. So I feel like that before that I needed a battle back, but now I don't need one anymore. So whatever, it can go.
Yeah. I feel like it's something that people might want prior to it happening, but I feel like almost every time after it happens, they're like, we didn't really need that. So the audience did respond to this question. Overwhelmingly, no, they are not a fan of the battle back twist. About 75% to 25. So 3/4 of the audience, not a fan of the battle back. So let's talk about the state of the house, because there's been some major changes. Faute is basically dead. I don't count two people as part of a named group alliance anymore. So they are now officially Bayleigh, which I think is the appropriate ship name for the two of them. But first, we do still have level 6 in the house, which obviously consists of Tyler, Angela, Kaycee, and Brett. They have JC and Sam on board with them. However, of course, as we mentioned, JC is trying to pull some people away, but that's a separate group. That's level 6. They remain intact for the moment, for the time being. Then we have Bayleigh, which is Fessy and Haleigh. They think they have JC, but of course they don't.
They don't.
Then there's JC's new kind of group that he's trying to forge here. JC and Brett, they've got a final 3 with Sam. Of course, Sam is right now, I believe, more loyal to Tyler, but they don't know that. And they are trying to work something, as we talked about. JC also feels like he has Tyler. So in JC's mind, I think he sees this kind of 4 group as himself, Brett, Tyler, and Sam. And that I think he would also then want to betray Brett at some point, but not after he uses him to take a shot at level 6. But that's a kind of loose grouping there. Then, of course, you've got Tangela, Tyler and Angela, the showmans there. You got the Coast to Coast Alliance, Tyler and Kaycee. You got Tyler and JC, and you got Tyler and Brett. All of his final 2 alliances in the house. So that's basically how the house is shaping up here, Melissa.
Yeah. I can't decide whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that Tyler has all those final 2s with everybody, with essentially almost everybody, because I just feel like it's so risky. I mean, with Tyler, he's probably able to pull it off, no sweat, no problem. But I just feel like if I was in Tyler's position, I'd be scared, because you piss people off in almost all of the situations, because you're going to have to. I mean, you can't have a final 2 with everybody. So, and it's also interesting to me because I don't know who his final 2 really is that he really intends to stay true to. So I think that'll be definitely an interesting dynamic down the stretch.
I mean, I think it's Kaycee. I think that's my read on it. That's what he said in the diary room. So I do believe he still wants to take Kaycee to the end. Also, I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with having a lot of final 2s. A lot of the great winners had lots of final 2s. It's just a matter of how you handle the betrayals. And the great winners handle them well. And the losers didn't, for the most part. So I'm not overly concerned until Tyler starts actively managing these people poorly in his betrayal of them. If he, if he goes I don't know what happened, or if he, he like, look, I'm sorry, playing the game, you were a big threat.
I don't think he'll do that.
Yeah,
I feel like he knows what happened last season. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I'm not overly concerned about that, but of course this is it's kind of a new formation in this house, a new layout that's kind of probably going to revert back to a previous layout when the battle back happens. So I guess there's not a ton to talk about here that we haven't already covered. But for the most part, I think the thing to look at here is that Tyler has an individual. He has 4 final 2s plus a showmance, and that accounts for 6 people in the house. There will be 7 after Fessy leaves, theoretically. So is it any wonder that he is telling JC, there's no way I'm not targeting Haleigh next week? She's the only person he doesn't have some kind of pair with. So not surprising that he would be against that plan, Brent.
Yeah, not surprising. Although I would caution everybody. Number one, I share Melissa's concern that I don't know if it's a good idea or bad idea. I'm leaning towards good idea because I feel like it keeps him insulated enough, and these people do not talk. I think of the many things you are likely to tell someone, the fact that you have a final 2 with someone, unless it's fairly obvious, like it is with Haleigh and Fessy, I feel like you're never going to tell someone. Like if me and Taran are in the house and we have a secret final 2, I'm never going to go to Melissa at some point and tell her, oh, I have a final 2 with him. How does that help me necessarily? Unless she outs to me first that she had a final 2, and why is she going to tell me that specifically? So I feel like of the deals you can make in the house, that's probably the most rock solid one. So I feel good about that. However,
unless you're playing him.
That's true.
And then you're like, oh, this dumb deal. Like, he wanted to make a final 2 with me, but I don't think they do that to Tyler.
I feel like that does more harm than good sometimes. What I was going to tell people who are watching right now is to be cognizant of the fact that the show that we're seeing right now, but the fact that Tyler has over 200 confessionals in the diary room, and like the next closest person is at like 100, and there are people with like less than 50 in the Big Brother house right now. Just because we see Tyler as the odds-on favorite to win and the runaway favorite at this point, doesn't mean that the house sees him that way. I feel like